Okay. Welcome students to lesson 34 on the Family School Online year 3 of science. And today the lesson is on monocots and dicots. So these words, monocots and dicots, are actually kind of a shorthand for monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Okay. A cotyledon is that part of the seed that has basically is made of the endosperm of the seed and is used by the plant to feed the plant before the plant can start doing photosynthesis. All right. And so that is a very, very important development, if you wish, on how seeds are made and the function of the seeds. That you have that these seeds of angiosperms, they have these large cotyledons, and some have one cotyledon, the monocots or monocotyledons, and others have two, the dicots. All right. And so again, we remember from Greek, okay, mono means single or one, and di is another way of saying two. So di or bi, those are all prefixes meaning two. All right. So dicotyledons is basically that they have two cotyledons. All right. Many times we kind of abbreviate the word and just call them monocots or dicots. Okay. And do you remember anything when we were studying about seeds, okay, and the configuration of seeds about this endosperm? Anything that you can remember about the endosperm? So you can put it on the chat board or on the question board or anything that you remember about the endosperm. Patrick says it was in the seed. Excellent. Yes. It was in the seed. Is the large part of the seed. That is correct. So the largest part of the seed is this cotyledon. And it has the nutrients of the plant to start out. So let's go in our trusty Wikipedia. Let's go, with E. Okay, so let's see here we have this is the cotyledon also shows itself when the seed starts growing. It enlarges and it starts kind of the process of photosynthesis. So these two, for example, is a dicot plant, all right, and these are not leaves. These are kind of transformed leaves. And Anna is asking, is the cotyledon different from the endosperm? The endosperm is is basically the nutrients that make up most of the cotyledon. Okay, the cotyledon changes when it starts germinating into these pseudo leaves. All right, you know, see here you have a monocot. All right, like a blade of grass, but this is not yet the full blade. Is actually the cotyledon enlarging, okay, and starting to sprout. Patrick says these are called also sprout leaves. They are not the leaves themselves, but they are the expression of the cotyledon shooting out, okay? And so they contain the endosperm. That is part of it. All right, excellent. And so one of the things that is very important to understand is that how do we benefit from the cotyledon? Here we see peanut seeds, and very clearly you can see then the cotyledon, and then the embryo, okay? And the primordial root, that would be this part that will start germinating into the root, and then this will be actually the leaves. All right. Patrick says we eat them. Yes. So Anna says, oh, that's what the little thing on the peanut is. Yes, so that is the actual embryo. So this is the embryo. The most of the seed is the cotyledon, all right? And most of it is again composed of the endosperm that is going to provide the nutrients for the embryo to start developing. Okay, very, very cool. And it is very important to recognize that what Patrick was saying is that we eat the cotyledons, okay? We eat the seeds and they provide us also with nutrients. So this is a very, very important source of nutrients for us humans. So what are some of the seeds that we eat that provide us with nutrition value? Corn, excellent. Yes, Anna says corn. Okay. What else? What other seeds are important for our diet? Sydney says sunflower seeds. Excellent. Yes. Which one is probably the most widely eaten seed worldwide? Okay. We don't eat that much of it here, but it is eaten a lot in other parts of the world. So we mentioned corn, okay. Rice, Patrick says rice. Sydney puts wheat, okay. And rice is a seed, that's right. So the rice bean is basically the monocot, okay, the single cotyledon of the rice plant. And that is rice is probably the #1 source of carbohydrates for humans. Okay. So some are large, some are small, but they are all very important both for the plant and also for us. So the larger they are, the better source of carbohydrates is that they produce for us. Okay. So yeah, wheat is also a grass, okay, and it's a big source of proteins or carbohydrates for humans. Okay. So now we saw there here in Wikipedia here the example. This graph shows how the seed develops and germinates. Okay. And this is the case of a monocot, okay, where you have the cotyledon is just single, all right, and it usually rises with the plant as the plant germinates. Ryan says also beans. Yes, all sorts of beans are very, very important source of nutrients. Okay, the good thing is that beans provide not only carbohydrates but also a lot of proteins. All right, excellent. And then in here we see the peanuts, a very clear example of a dicot. How can you tell that this is an example of a dicot? When you look at this picture, how could you say? So Anna says because there are two cotyledons. Patrick says the threads coming out. There's one more obvious reason why you could see in this image that peanuts are dicots. instead of monocots. Patrick says it splits in half. That's right, yes. So the dicot seeds split in half easily. So that is one very easy way of identifying whether the plant is monocot or dicot. It's really looking at the seed, and if it breaks in half, there you have it. Okay. How about, you know, a corn seed? Let's see if we have a picture. It's not in this article, so let's go. Okay. Okay, so let's go to images and see. Okay, corn. Just one of the grains of corn. Can you break the kernel of corn in half? Patrick says no. Yeah, that's right. So that one is a clear sign that is a monocot. Okay, so there you have it. All right, and when you look at the corn, okay, let's see if we have. Maize is another name for the corn seed, but I'm trying to see if I find a good picture of the corn seed and the schematic. So I don't see one. Okay, should have brought something, but you can see the different parts of the embryo. Okay, and then the cotyledon that has all the endosperm of the seed. Okay, so the embryo is just this little tiny part at the top of the seed. Okay, let's see if this shows better. Very large. Okay, but there you have the kernel, and most of it is the endosperm and the cotyledon, and the embryo is just the little part, okay, at the top. So that gives you kind of a good image of that. And as you can see, there's no break in half. Okay, you cannot split it. All right. Now, something important to understand is that this classification between monocots and dicots only applies to angiosperms. So angiosperms, the flowering plants. So that if we look here at the plant classification, we have studied the non-vascular plants, the mosses and so on. Then we studied from the vascular plants, the ones that don't have seed, that have spores, the ferns mostly. Then of those who have seeds, we look at the ones with no flowers, the gymnosperms, the conifers and cycads being the main examples. And then we were looking more closely at the angiosperms, and the angiosperms are the ones that can be divided into monocots and dicots. Okay, so I have a question for you. What would be a pine tree? Would it be a dicot or a monocot? With what I just told you and looking here at the graph, what would a pine tree be? Anna says neither. That's right. That is the correct answer, actually. Okay. Yeah, neither. Patrick also says it would be a gymnosperm. That's right. Okay. So you see that all these other plants are not even classified as that. And that is part of the way that they reproduce. So even in the gymnosperms, they don't have the seed is mostly just the embryo. They don't have a lot of endosperm there to feed the seed, and they are not divided into these cotyledons. Okay, so this is only a classification, and it's the last classification that we are going to to talk about, okay, of the angiosperms between monocots and dicots. Okay, good deal. So let's see. Now let's review here in this video what are some of the characteristics of plants, and I like this quite a bit. I really enjoy this video. So what are some of the characteristics that this video tells us about of plants? They are all eukaryotic, okay, so they have nucleus in the cells, all right, they are multicellular organisms. Then one of the main characteristics is that they are all plants are autotrophs. What does that mean, that they are autotrophs? What was that word? What was the meaning of that? Anna says they use the energy from the sun to make energy for themselves. Okay? Yeah, they can function on their own. So plants produce their own food. Okay? So auto means self, okay, and troph means eater. All right? So this is basically meaning that they, not that they eat themselves, but that they can produce their own food. Okay. What was the third characteristic here of plants? What was the third characteristics of plants? That they have cell walls. That's right. So, and the cell wall is made of cellulose. Okay. So that is also a very important characteristic. The bacteria also have cell walls, but remember that the bacterial cell wall, it was made of a different substance, okay? It was made of what was it? Some long word, okay. The cell walls of fungi is made of chitin, okay. So different types of organisms then have different cell walls. But the plants all have the cell walls made of cellulose. So Patrick and Anna are answering all the questions here. Very good, guys. Okay. So, yeah. Then plants, the fourth characteristic says here that they are terrestrial. What does that mean, that they are terrestrial? That they live on land. Anna says they live on land. That's right. Okay. So there's a few species of plants that live in water, like the water lilies. Okay. But most of the plants that are plants, they are terrestrial. Patrick is asking about seaweed. Okay. What did we learn about seaweed? What did we learn about seaweed, and how come we don't say that those are plants? Okay. What were seaweed? All right. So seaweed is a macroscopic multicellular algae. Okay. So remember that the algae are part of this kingdom that is the protist. Okay, so they are not really plants. They are not bacteria. They are not animal. All right, these are the kingdom that has everything else in between, and so the algae, the seaweed, is a case where you have a multicellular algae and it's macroscopic, meaning that it's not very small, it can go very, very large. All right? So that is the seaweeds are not plants. Okay. Braden is asking, it's like a jellyfish? Well, no, the jellyfish, it would be an animal. Okay, let's see. jellyfish. Okay. So it's individuals, phylum Cnidaria. Okay. So they are part of the animal kingdom. So really weird, okay, but they actually are part of the animal kingdom. All right, so if we go here at the taxonomy, this is kind of the classification, we would see that they are part of the animal kingdom. Okay. So different classes and types of jellyfish. All right. So good. So we saw now that plants then are terrestrial, except, there are a few exceptions, but we shouldn't confound plants with algae, okay, like seaweed. Those are different, okay, or like underwater fern, okay. So I don't know if the underwater fern is probably a type of algae also. Patrick says there is a jellyfish that can live for 1,000 years. Holy cow. That's amazing. Well, we have seen then that plants are some of the longest living organisms. So here you have a jellyfish that can live for 1,000 years, but we have lots of several specimens of trees that have lived much longer, even 3 times longer. I visited one time here in Utah in Cedar Breaks National Park. There's a forest of pine trees that they said are the longest living organisms, and they are over 3,000 years old. Okay, 3,000-year-old pine trees. Amazing, really. The next thing here in the video is that it says that plants have experienced this alternation of generations. Okay, what does that mean, the alternation of generations? What do you remember of that? We talk mostly about that when we talk about the mosses, okay, the non-vascular plants, and then when we talk about the ferns. What was the alternation of generations concept? Any ideas? The image should kind of give you a clue. Anna says, had something to do with diploid and haploid. Yes, okay. So the ferns, and Patrick points out there to the ferns are one of the examples where we see this alternation of generations well pronounced. So the idea is that the diploid, meaning that each cell has 2 copies of each chromosome. Okay, the diploid cells reproduce and they produce a plant, and that is the ferns that we normally see. And these plants then produce the spores. That is why it's called the sporophyte. So the sporophyte, all the cells in the sporophyte are diploid cells, and the spores themselves go through the process of meiosis, okay, and they are haploid cells, okay, and then these haploid cells fertilize and they produce a gametophyte that is haploid. So this is also the same plant, but it's kind of different in the sense that now all the cells have only one set of chromosomes. They are haploid, half of the chromosomes. And this gametophyte produces through mitosis the female gametes and the male gametes that are they are both haploid, and then the male gametes fertilize the female ones, and they produce now the diploid plant again through the process of fertilization. So you have that plants go through this cycle where part of the plant life is diploid and then part of the plant life is haploid. Okay, and all plants have that. Now the ferns and the mosses have a large portion of their life is haploid. Okay, especially the mosses, the largest part of the life of the mosses is in the haploid state. Okay, the ferns is kind of I don't know if to say half and half, but something like that. And then when we go to the angiosperms, okay, and the gymnosperms is mostly diploid. All right, so the only time that you have the alternation of generations is during the time when the flowers are happening, okay, and then the pollen and the pollination occurs and so on. So that is when you have that other part of the cycle in the life of the plants, okay. But they all experience this alternation of generations, which is a very important and unique characteristic. And then the other characteristic is that all plants have this embryophyte, okay, which is a protected embryo. So the seed is protected, all right. The embryo is protected inside the seed. So those are some very, very important characteristics of plants, all right. Now I'm going to turn the time, okay, to Anna, all right, so she can take us to the second academic concept. All right, Anna, go ahead. It's all yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, so the second academic concept talks about the differences between monocots and dicot plants, and there's, I guess there's 6 main characteristics that kind of define a monocot and a dicot. It's like what we talked about before. A cotyledon is the kind of the fake leaves that come out when the plant sprouts until it gets its true leaves. And depending on whether there's one cotyledon or 2, that is one of the characteristics or the main characteristics that differentiate between the monocots and the dicots. So I watched the video and I thought it was kind of a fun video, and they explained most of the characteristics. The first one was that the number of petals kind of differentiates between the monocots and the dicots. Monocots, they have their petals of their flowers are in multiples of 3, and then the dicots are in multiples of 4 or 5. And then the second characteristic is the leaves. And monocots, they have parallel veins on the leaves, and the dicot leaves are more net and spreading out, like a maple leaf or leaf right there. The third characteristic is roots. And monocots, they have these kind of fiber roots that spread out kind of like a net, whereas dicots, they have a taproot. And then we have the stems, where the monocots, the vascular bundles, if you cut like a monocot plant in half, you can see the vascular bundles, they're all scattered around. There's no really order in how they're placed inside, the xylem and phloem and all of that.
Yep.
Whereas in dicots, the vascular bundles are organized at the edge of the stem. And then the fifth characteristic is the cotyledons, which I talked about before, how a monocot has 1 cotyledon and the dicots have 2. And then it didn't talk about the 6th one in this video, but on the website it talked about how there's secondary growth, So monocots would be like just a main stem with a couple leaves on top, whereas a dicot would be more like a tree where it's got branches and lots of leaves coming off of it.
Yeah, So what does this one refer to, the secondary growth? Can you describe that more?
Let me see. I'm not quite sure about that one.
So let me see if they have, okay, in this one, I think that we would see an example. Let's see, not this one, sorry. Okay. Okay, so like in here, you see a tulip, okay? So what type of plant would the tulip be?
That would be a monocot.
Why?
Well, for one thing, there's the roots that spread out and the petals of the flower in multiples of 4 or 5. And I guess that picture in the middle where there's the main stem and leaves branching off, I guess that would kind of be an example of the secondary growth thing.
That's right, yeah. So here in this case in the tulip we see the petals, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals, so multiple of 3, so monocot, okay. Then like you pointed out, the fibrous roots, no taproot there, monocot. In the leaves we see the parallel venation, you know, so we don't see the veins spreading out, but they are parallel. And then this is the part of the secondary growth. You see that the leaves kind of come right out of the stem. Okay? You see that there's no petiole, there's no really woody stem forming in the monocots. Okay?
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right, so the monocots have that characteristic that the leaves come directly out of the stem, and the stem does not have a true woody and branching characteristic. Okay, so that is one way of distinguishing between one and the other. So that is what this refers here, one main stem with a few leaves on the top, as opposed to the dicots that have many branches and many leaves.
Cool.
Excellent. Good deal. Okay, so now in here in this part of we are going to look at this presentation and see the different ones. Okay, so we've analyzed here the tulip. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what is this?
You want me to answer the question?
You or anyone else? Okay, what do you think, guys?
Well, for one thing, it's got 5 petals, so that would lean it towards being a dicot.
That's right. So this is a dicot, 5 petals. If we were to look closely at the leaves, or remember the leaves of the pansies, they have venation. Okay. So this would be a case of a dicot. Okay. What do we see now here on the oak tree?
Here I can start seeing the secondary growth of the branches and all the leaves.
Yeah, so Patrick says dicot. Yeah, that would be a good example of a dicot. All right, you see the secondary growth. What else do you see here in this picture of the oak tree that will help us see that this is a dicot?
The leaves have, that kind of spreading veins.
That's right, yeah, the leaves have the spreading veins, non-parallel. Good. what else do we see, you know, besides the branches, okay, what other characteristic will help us see that this is a dicot? In the trunk.
It's got that wood texture.
Mm-hmm. So it has wood, okay, and so when we mentioned that, you know, the dicots are the wood producing trees, okay, and so Patrick says many branches, Sidney says bark. The bark also will point out to this organization of the xylem and phloem, okay. If you were to cut the tree, you would see that the vascular tissue is well organized, okay. Good deal. Let's see the next one. All right, so here we have a tiger lily. What can you tell me now here about the tiger lily? Monocot or dicot, and why? Patrick says monocot. Why? Multiple of 3 petals. Okay, 6. All right. What else do we see in the tiger lily?
The leaves have the parallel veins.
Parallel veins in the leaves. Good. One more thing that we could tell from this picture.
There's also just the main stem and the leaves shooting right at.
That's right, yes, exactly. So the secondary growth, you have the leaves shooting right out from the main stem. Good. Now here we have the dandelion that we've seen so many times. It's the bane of my existence in the garden. Okay, Patrick says, I hate those. Yeah. And it's amazing because every child, including all of us, we've always played a big role at helping the dispersal of these dandelions by blowing at blowing at the seeds and dispersing the seeds in the garden. So not very good. Okay, so here let's see. Patrick says that they are monocots. What do you think? Anybody else? Anna says, I'm definitely guilty of that, of spreading the seeds of that. Okay. Do the dandelions have a straight up leaves? So do they have the parallel venation in the leaves? Patrick says yes, Anna says no. Okay. So Patrick, do you want to come? Let me unmute you, or you can unmute yourself or not. No, let me unmute you, Patrick. Let's see. Okay. So what do we see? Yeah, I think so. So you see that the venation is not parallel. You have the main vein and then the other ones. Okay. What else do we see in this picture that could help us see that the dandelion is a dicot?
Because of the all the seeds, the way it's all just spread out.
Okay, that would be one way. In this picture, what do you see that could help us identify the dicot?
The second flower coming up?
No, not that.
The sloppy xylem and phloem.
That would be a characteristic of a monocot. Okay. The dandelion actually has a good you're confusing one and the other, Patrick. So
look at the wrong list here.
That's right, yeah, you are looking at the other one. So
there's a lot.
Anna says here the taproot, okay? Do you remember ever pulling out the dandelion plant, okay, and having that huge taproot, okay, that is impossible. You have to really dig deep and well in order to get all of the taproot out, okay? Is that something that, yes, let's see. So, yeah, Patrick says it reminds me of a carrot, yeah. So the taproot gives you the clue there that this is a dicot, okay? So very big taproot. Then let's see here the geraniums. What do we see now here in the geranium plant? Anna says the taproot again, excellent. Okay, so what would it be? Dicot or monocot? Dicot, yes. Patrick, now you are looking at the right list. Good job. Excellent. Yes. What else? Hooray, yeah. What other characteristic would give us the clue that this is a dicot from these pictures? What do we see? Organized stem, okay, yes, Spreading veins on the leaves and 5 petals. Sydney says the 5 petals, yes, So the 5 petals there on the plant, okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 on each, so there you have a dicot, okay. So I want you to be kind of like Sherlock Holmes, okay? Do you like that show? I love the books and I also like the show, okay? But what does Sherlock do all the time? What does he do mostly? Patrick says, I just finished the show. I'm still in the 2nd season, okay. And Patrick says that he makes deductions. He makes deductions out of what? Out of what? How can Sherlock make all these deductions? Is it just a picture? Okay. Fine detail? What is the main thing that Sherlock does? Okay. Sydney says, I read Nancy Drew. Does that count? Yeah, kind of. Nancy Drew also does the same thing. I think that Sherlock is probably, a more amazing example, but Sherlock Holmes kind of started this whole genre of detective stories and sleuths. Okay. But what is the main thing that Sherlock Holmes does? What are we doing here with this presentation? And what does Sherlock Holmes does? What do we have in common? Anna says, do they look for the clues and then figure out the mystery? That's right, yes. So it's the power of observation, okay? So we look at things, but we not just look at things, we actually observe and are able to look at characteristics of things and then make conclusions, make observations about other things around us, okay? So that is the whole, thrust of the scientific method, all right? That is why we learn all these things, is to help us learn to see better, to observe better. All right, so here I think this is the last, this is the last slide. We have grass, just simple grass. Monocot or dicot? Monocot or dicot? Monocot, yes, Patrick and Anna says monocot. Why? what do we see here in grass that helps us see that it's monocot? Okay, straight veins, okay, net-like roots, shoots straight up, okay, so yes, all those are the characteristics of monocots. The leaves come right from the stem, so no secondary growth, fibrous roots, all right, no tap roots, they are like a net, and then the parallel veins in the leaves. Beautiful. Okay, all right. So that is how we do things. We classify things and observe. That is the main thing to do. Okay, so now let's turn the time. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for guiding here the conversation and this part. Okay, and Patrick now is going to do the gospel principle for us. Okay. Let me switch here. Yes.
Hey, so this week's gospel principle is that all people are members of God's family, even though we belong to individual families here on Earth. Which I guess can definitely be used with a lot of stuff. Even if you really, really dislike someone, you know that deep down, way deep down, they're still your 53rd cousin.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because of Adam and Eve. So, yeah. So we have now learned about all the plant groups in the plant kingdom. A kingdom is like a giant family. So I have heard the song. I've heard this song before, I think, The Families of God. Would you mind pulling it up so we could listen?
No problem, yes. Let's do that. Okay. Let's play. Hold on. Here. Okay.
Hello? I should have put like a different username in there so that whenever I'm talking, it just is talking my username.
Could you hear the song as I was playing it?
No.
Oh my goodness. Bummer. Okay, I don't know what happened, but I was playing it. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Can you hear it now?
Nope.
No. Oh, bummer.
Try going to the online version. There's a link that you put in here.
Yes, So I got the link and downloaded. So the link sent me to this page. Okay. It was kind of a search results with different songs from the church, and so then I downloaded that, and I got it. No, I was playing it, but so here let's open the words of the song. But this is actually a beautiful song, frankly. And it's pretty new. All right, let's see if it has any information. Well, 2008. So yeah, so it wasn't when I was in primary. But let's read the first stanza, the first verse. Could you read that, Patrick? Yeah.
Our Father has a family. It's me. It's you. It's all others too. We are His children. Children. He sent each one of us to Earth through birth to live and learn here in families. God gave us families to help us become what He wants us to be. This is how He shares His love for the family is of God. I actually remember singing this one back in primary.
Yes,
4 or 5 years ago.
Excellent. But I really love this concept of how he teaches our Father has a family. It's me, it's you, and all others too. So
It's clever rhyming.
yes, and it's something that I wasn't that, you know, even though I knew that, okay, like you mentioned before, we are all so many cousins removed, okay, we are all coming from the same family, but it is actually very interesting to ponder and recognize that we are really the family of God. We are really his family, literally. Yeah,
It's true.
yeah. And even though we go to different families here on Earth, all right, and our families may look differently here. We may look different from one another. We may have some strong accent. Okay.
I'm the only one in my family who has blonde hair.
Yeah. But we still all are part of this great family of Heavenly Father. Okay. How does that compare to what we have studied about plants?
Well, even though all the plant groups are very, very different, in fact, I didn't even know ferns reproduce that way. I always thought they were like regular plants. Well, there's not even a regular plant anymore now.
Yeah.
But I thought they were reproduced like monocots and dicots, I guess. But they're, even though they're all completely different from each other, well, the majority of them are, I guess they're all still considered plants.
Yes, and they all still have, you know, these characteristics that we mentioned. Okay, let's see, let's go over here. Okay, these characteristics still apply to all of them. You know, so very, very interesting. And here we have the family tree of plants. Okay, so if we go inside the green plants, we can still see many different families, okay, that have different characteristics, but they all go back to being plants. Yeah. How does knowing that can help us in our daily life? Patrick, what do you think?
Well, do you mean the knowing that everyone's your family or all the plants are related?
That we are all family.
Well, as I said before, there's a couple people that I really just do not like. You know, it's just sometimes they always just hit my nerve just wrong. But I try my best because I know that they're still my 51st cousin.
Yes, yeah, we still need to learn to relate to one another, okay? I would like to encourage you guys to either memorize this song, okay? And or if you haven't memorized, of course, I'm a child of God. That is probably my favorite, okay?
That's like the first one I learned.
Yes, and it is actually a very, very powerful and important message for all of us. Let's see, Sydney says, I have people that I really dislike, but I'm still trying to be nice because everyone is a child of God. That is kind of the main message underneath this, really. Okay.
I think everyone's going to have people they dislike.
You know, I think that sooner or later we will bump into into those. most of the time sooner than later.
I know I could have waited a little bit longer before I met people I didn't like.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, for example, in my mission, one of my my next to the last companion, okay, was someone that I had known before from other areas in my mission and everything, and we were very, very different. Okay, extremely different. Okay, in character, in approach, and everything. And I really kind of didn't like this elder. Okay, but I was told to be his companion. Okay. And so I was thinking, oh my, these are going to be 2 long months. They were the last 2 months of his mission. Okay. But one of the things that I did was, and this is not to my credit, it's actually probably to his credit, is that when I got to the apartment the first time, I said, you know, this is really how I feel about you, okay, because of this and that and everything, but I'm willing to start from scratch, okay. I'm willing to overlook all those things that I preconceived notions and everything, and we'll start from scratch. And I want to share with you the food that I have or any of the things that I have and everything. And actually it turned out that it was one of the best companionships that I had in my mission, really. Okay, we were still very different. Okay, it wasn't that everything was okay, but it was really, we were able to achieve a very, very high degree of unity in our work, and to feel the spirit and to be guided by the spirit, and we were able to do a lot of very good things, really. Okay, is that we learned to work together. You know,
That's really cool.
yeah. So let's see, Sydney says, I am glad that I have met the people that I dislike, because now I know how to deal with those kinds of people. I think that Heavenly Father places these people in our lives because we might be able to use that experience of how to act around that person in another point of life. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very insightful comment, Sydney. Okay. Anything else, Patrick?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So I will need a volunteer for the closing prayer. Okay. I can have someone to volunteer for the closing prayer. And before we pray, though, I would like, not here, I actually would like to show to you the assignment for this lesson and see if there are any questions. Okay. So Sydney will volunteer for prayer, and let me unmute Sydney. Okay, so we will be ready. And the assignment here for the lesson is to turn in the garden project. Okay, so we have been working on that. All right. And I describe here that the presentation that you need to put together to turn in the garden project will be the garden plan. Okay, you already submitted that, so you don't need to do a new one. You put the plan that you submitted. Explain what you intended to do. So this could be another slide in the presentation with, bullet points explaining where you were deciding to plant and what you did and so on. Okay. Then what did you do to prepare the garden? How you planted the garden? Okay. And document your progress up to this time. All right. And then you can finish your presentation with the plan for continuing to care for your garden when you plan to harvest it. Okay. And what will you do with the produce? And finally, how will you clean up the garden? Okay. Justin says, what if I don't have one? Okay. So if you don't have one, okay, let me think. What can we do? What can we do? Shall we do some especially hard assignment for punishment or what? I don't know. Let me think about that, Justin. Okay. Megan says, I have some questions about that, but I will message you in Canvas. The reason being I fell behind in my assignments. I don't want, and okay, no, okay. Okay, no problem. So, if you have questions or special circumstances, send me an email through Canvas, okay? So yes, and next week we are going to do, next week and the following one, we will do presentations similar to what Nathan did last time. Okay, we will do the presentations here of the project, and Patrick is already volunteering for that. Okay, so even if you don't have a garden, there are still parts of this project that you can submit. Okay, so you can still do the plan, still explain what you intend to do and so on, and document as much as possible on the project. Okay, and again, there are some parts here of this presentation that are certainly future. Okay, most of us have not had the chance to grow the garden to the point where we can harvest or anything like that. Nathan is probably the only one living in a warmer climate that has done that. So, but that is where we will be going. Okay. All right. So now, Sydney, would you like to dismiss us with a prayer? So next week we have lesson 35, the last lesson, and then the week after that we have the final. And during those 2 days we will also do presentations of the project. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. So Sydney, unmute yourself and let's go ahead.
Can you hear me?
That's right, yes. We could hear you for a second when you ask, can you hear me, but not after or before that.
Oh, okay. There's probably a delay from my end, but I'm going to go ahead and go.
Okay, go ahead.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for today. We're grateful for all the very many blessings you have given to us. Please help us as we go throughout the rest of our day today, that we'll be able to take what we have learned and apply it to our everyday lives. We're grateful that we will be able to come here today, and please help those who were not here, that they would be able to come next time. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh.